Very good afternoon. My name is Alok, and after a long time, I welcome you once again to Network Nuts YouTube channel. For since last couple of days of a weeks, I was busy with a number of activities, but I cannot put all those things as excuse of not giving you some new tips and tricks on Linux. So just sparing, like managing my time. I think I was not able to manage my time properly. So let's start with this video, and I hope I'll be more frequent in the future. In this video, I'm going to tell you some very small and interesting hacks and tricks for SSH. You all know what is SSH. I need not to remind you for that what SSH is. So just a gentle reminder that SSH is used for connecting to a remote server and then doing your job or managing the server remotely. So for the sake of the understanding, what I am doing, I'm just opening my gedit here to jot down the notes for you. Just a moment, guys. Here is the trusted gedit. So let me write here. So the objective is fairly simple. I'll just increase the font size. Just a moment. Now the point is that edit preferences, font and color, change it to bold. Something bold will do. That's great. That's it. So let's do SSH. I don't like this. Sorry. Just a moment. Cobalt. Yeah, I like this one. That's great. My favorite. So just understand, securing SSH, or say I can write it at making SSH more secure. That will be the apt title for this video. So you all know, guys, that we use SSH is used to connect to remote machines and perform administrative jobs. Let me change the font. I still don't like this. Let me make it classic. Sorry. Which is the default one? Monospace, bold. Yeah, much better. That is much better. So SSH is used to connect to the remote machine and perform the administrative jobs. We know this. SSH uses port number 22. We all know this, and it transmits everything in encrypted manner. That's fine. That is fine. Now, what about the security? Securing SSH is very critical for any administrator, or you should be able to enforce right kind of policies or security policies with SSH. Let me start with one very small thing, that by default standard way of doing SSH is that SSH asks you for the password. Means SSH by default takes password as the authentication mechanism. I can write here SSH by default takes password as the authentication mechanism. No problem, but it is fine. It is fine. So now the point is that unless and until you have the password, you cannot hit me. But again, SSH is giving you the option of keep on trying with the passwords. You might run some password breaking softwares, or if you're, even if you're not running any password breaking software, I'm still giving you a chance to keep on trying with the passwords, right? So I can point it out here that this gives user or attacker, or say, a chance to try different passwords, right? So he might succeed, one day, he might get success. If your passwords are not complex, he might get success. So a better way is that to avoid taking password as a authentication mechanism, a better way, a better and secure way is to totally avoid taking passwords as the authentication mechanism. Then what to do? It is always recommended, it is always recommended to use the keys. Always more secure to use SSH keys to gain login access. We all have learned this since, we have mastered this since our RSC days, that we can use ssh-keygen command to generate our keys, and the same keys can be then sent to the other machine. Okay, but the first thing is that, okay, I told you that you can use the SSH keys, but my point is that before you start using SSH keys, it will be better to tell SSH not to take passwords as a authentication. Not to accept password, or I can say not to accept passwords, not to accept password. Before you start creating the keys and using the keys, the first thing that you should be doing is that block the door for giving the passwords. So this can very easily be done now. You need to tell SSH not to accept passwords as valid authentication. So it's very simple. You just need to edit your main configuration file, edit the main configuration file of SSH, that is, you know it, etc sshd_config, and just write here, you just need to write there permit root login, and you can write here without password. Without password doesn't mean that you are not supposed to give any password. Without password here means that only keys will be taken as the password mechanism. The passwords will not be accepted as the passwords. That simply means that server will allow login without passwords, that is using the keys or SSH keys. So let me first show you this very small thing. So for this video I have got two machines. One is having a red background, which will be our server, and the other is having the normal default, or sorry, I've changed the background, the green background, which will be my client. Let me just inform you about the environment here. The server is having an IP of 192.168.0.123 and the host name of this server is rel64-server.example.com and I am running rel 6.4. Now the client is the IP of the client is 124, so it is +1 from the server and the host name is client.example.com and on this machine also I am running rel 64. Okay, it is a default configuration and I hadn't changed anything. So by default, if I give SSH root at rel 64-server.example.com, just a moment, I just need to restart my service. It happens a couple of times on my virtual machine. Let me try it. Just a moment please. Might be my previous configurations are conflicting in it. Yeah, there was some problem with the IP tables. So now the point is I have got the IP table flushed and everything is working properly. Now this machine is a client.example.com. Now I am sitting on the server. So by default what we give? We give SSH-y or -x if we want X11 forwarding and then the name of the machine. And I need to accept the fingerprints and then by default the SSH prompt me for the password. I am giving the valid password and there I am on the client. So means SSH is accepting passwords as a valid authentication mechanism. Might be, now you need to consider this, that might be I am an attacker and I am hitting you trying to break in using the SSH and I don't know the passwords, but still I can keep on trying. I can keep on trying with the wrong passwords. Your machine is giving me a chance to break in, right? I don't want this. I don't want password as a valid authentication mechanism. So what need to be done? Very simple. Just go to the server side. Here it is. Let me make this. Yeah. Open up the conf file and just activate this. Permit root login without -password. That's it. Just write this line. I had written it earlier, so that is why you were able to see the line. Just write this line. Permit root login without password. That's it. It is what you need to write. Save and come out. Just start the SSH service again. Now if everything is working properly, I'm prompting for the password, but if I try to give the password, I'm giving the right password, it will not take password as a valid authentication mechanism. I'm giving the right password. That's great. And if I just go back on the server and check the log, you can say there password fail check. That's fine. Now that is, I had taken the first step. I had taken the first step that my client machine, the green machine, is not taking or accepting password as a valid authentication mechanism. So what next? So I should be using, okay, just a moment, I'll just uncomment it again. Just comment it again to show you the lab and just start the SSH service. Now guys, the thing is that what need to be done now? Then create the fingerprints. Very simple. Here it is. So the next step is securing is create SSH keys and share it with the remote machine. You all knows that we can create SSH keys by the command ssh-keygen -trsa or dsa. It doesn't matter. So it will create two files. So let me just give this command here. I give here ssh-keygen -trsa Yeah. So my private key is going under my home directory .ssh id underscore rsa passphrase. Now the passphrase is very important. Normally what you do, geeks, you avoid the passphrase, but believe me, the longer the passphrase, the much more secure you are, because now if you're giving the blank password, then the attacker will only need the private key. But if you have given the passphrase, then he need two keys, the passphrase as well as the private key. So I'm giving here passphrase as, say, network nuts, network network nuts, network nuts. Oh, it doesn't match. Network nuts, network nuts. That's great, job done. So my, under my home directory, I've got a file, or two files are being created. id underscore rsa is my private key and id underscore rsa.pub is my public key. Now I need to send this file, my public key, to the green machine. If you had done this, so I can use ssh copy id command to transfer it to the remote machine. Say client dot example dot com. That's great. So I hope you all know that this command copy the file as well as rename it or change the name to authorized underscore keys. So if I go back to my machine on my server, here it is, cat authorized underscore keys, and these are the keys for my rel 64 server. It is clearly mentioned with the key. Now once the keys are being accepted, I can safely, or I should, activate this permit root login without password. That because the keys are there, so there is no need of still accepting passwords as a valid authentication mechanism. So now if I go back and do a SSH here it is, passphrase. It's not the password, it is the passphrase. Passphrase means identify that you are the person who had generated this key. So I need to give network nuts here. Here it is, I am on the client machine. Job done. So it is what you had already learned. I hope I like hadn't explained you anything very interesting up till now, but that was the base that we need to create. Now the point is that you want to make sure you are the admin of the green server. Now you need to make sure that only, fine, the keys of the red machine are with you, the keys are here, but might be somebody can copy these keys to some fake machine or some bogus machine, then using the private key. Might be, it can happen that if your physical security is compromised, then just a moment, I'm on the client side, sorry. Then if somebody will take my keys, if my keys got compromised, then anybody using my keys or my identity can hit on the green machine, right? I, being a administrator of the green machine, need to make sure that only connections from rel64-server.example.com are accepted. So it is always a good idea to limit the scope of the key, so that only you can, or only the red machine can do SSH. So just limit the scope of the key. I can just put it here. A better security idea is to limit the scope of the keys. Limit it for a particular FQDN, fully qualified domain name, for a host name. So you need to start from your own machine. So you can simply use a very simple small hack there, that so the server will modify the, sorry, authorized underscore keys file and append the name of the genuine host which is allowed to use this key. So you can be sure that if though it is not a foolproof mechanism, but you are adding another layer of security, that only the machine which have a specific host name can use this key to enter into the server without being prompted for any password. So I just need to edit this file and just need to just write here from is equal to, and then the, say in my case it is rel64-server.example.com. that's it, comma, remember the comma there. So what I do here, I'll just show you. Now I go to the server, I open the authorized underscore keys and I write here from rel64-server.example.com, comma, that's it. That this key is accepted as a valid authentication mechanism only when the request is coming from this host name. Let me show you. It won't service SSH restart, though it is not required. Now because my machine name is same, you won't feel anything right here. Just a moment, hope everything will work. Yeah, passphrase is network nuts. Yeah, so I am able to log in because my keys are there and the machine has also verified my host name against my key. Now let us do a small mischief here, that I change the name to rel84. That just assume that only the rel84-server is allowed to use the key, and this is the key for the machine rel84 server. That's great. Now somehow I got the key, and if I will try to use the key, I have the key but my host name is different. My host name is rel64 and there the key is attached with the host name rel84. So my host name won't match, though the key is generated by me only, but the host name is not matching. So what will happen now? If I try to do SSH here, I am being prompted for the password. Passphrase is not being prompted, and I had given Red Hat as the password, but because I had blocked the password as the valid authentication mechanism, I won't be able to access the machine. So even though you had taken the keys by any means, but the server has blocked or attached the key with the host name. So that is again one of the layers of security that you can add. It is very important. So I again make it rel64, saved, restart the service, and now I should be able to do it without any glitches. Network nuts. Fair enough. Wow, that's great. Hoo-ha. Somebody in the I had posted the last video, and some of couple of you have asked, sir, where the hoo-ha and the wow and beautiful, these words were missing in those videos. Where is the energy? So the energy is back. You cannot give the credit to Red Bull or any other energy drink. Hoo-ha. Okay, so that is again a very good thing. Now one more very interesting thing that you can do is that by default SSH do what? SSH by default will drop your connection after a particular time of inactivity. If I just go on the client side, let me show you. I go to etc sshd_config and where I can just secure alive. Look, there is nothing known as secure alive, and if I see try to search here, say TCP keep alive, yeah, look, the TCP keep alive is yes, but it is not activated. What the TCP keep alive does, normally what happens, your connection drops after a particular time of inactivity, so you might need to log in again and giving the credentials again. So your SSH connection will drop after a long interval of inactivity for security reasons, which is good, there is no doubt about that, which is good. But in case you don't want the connection to drop, you can use, there's a very good option here, secure alive interval, and then specify number of seconds option with number of seconds. So what it does, when it is configured, secure alive interval will transmit a encrypted packet after that much number of seconds of inactivity. So if I give here, if under etc sshd underscore config, if I just write here, say secure alive interval, say 80, that means that after every 80 seconds of inactivity, secure alive interval will send a encrypted packet to the server, thus making the connection active. Okay, one more point is that some people use the TCP keep alive, which is good, no doubt about that, but the problem or a small caveat with the TCP keep alive is that the TCP keep alive packets can be spoofed, whereas secure alive interval cannot be spoofed. So I can just mention here, you can use TCP keep alive, but TCP keep alive packets can be spoofed, whereas secure alive interval packets cannot be spoofed. So it is always recommended to use the secure keep alive. So and also remember that it is turned off by default. So you need to understand this. So in any case, if you want it, I can just go to etc sshd underscore config, avoid using TCP keep alive, and here at the bottom you can write here secure alive interval, say 80, if it is supported. Oh, so I will be like, it's not working in my machine, I need to figure out. So but you can use this, or not an issue. So now one more very interesting point that you can do is that you can avoid typing long logon name and the passwords. You can have a per user basis of config files. Okay, what I mean is that every time I need to do SSH, I need to give this SSH -y root at client.example.com. I'm a lazy person. I don't want to type all this. My logon name is so big, the client name is so big, but every time I need to write this. Oh, the client has refused connection. Let me check why. Okay, I hadn't started the service. Just a moment, because after that error I need to restart the service. Fair enough. Now I need to give the passphrase every time. So every time I need to supply my logon name and my host name. So if you are a lazy, and being lazy is not a bad thing, because if you are lazy, then you keep on finding new hacks and tricks. You can create identity files for yourself to avoid typing all this stuff. What I can do within my home directory under SSH, I will create one file, config file. I'm doing it on the client, the red machine, and just right here say host client, and then it is always recommended to give a tab here, host name. Now write the actual host name, client.example.com, and then you can also supply your username, root. If you have changed the port, then you can also specify the ports like this 9999 and other things, but I'm just trying to show you what can be done. Now once you have the config file with you, and the config file contains your machine specific configuration, you can instead of writing all this, I can just write client, and look here, everything will be taken care by the config file. You need to supply the client, and whenever you use this particular host word, all the configuration under this host will be used automatically for the authentication to the server. So that makes your typing much more easier. And if you are, like I had told you, you can, if you are using different ports, okay, I'm sorry, I'm on this, yeah, say I go to SSH, I go to config. Okay, let me give you a very simple example. If you had changed the port here, say I go to etc sshd underscore config, I go to the top, you can change the port here. If you have changed the port here, say 4 times 2 service sshd restart, then from the client side, if you are, you can, and if you don't have the config file, then you need to give this root at 192 dot, say your client dot example.com -p triple time 4 times 2 network nuts. That is means my typing is now much more. I need to type much more number of, I need to press much more number of keys. Avoid this, simply avoid this. Just go to the SSH, open your conf file, and feel free to write the port here also, 4 times 2. Even you can use different identity keys for this also, like I can write here identity file, and then specify a different identity file if you are using a different identity file for different machine, different file dot key. That can be done. Okay, just for my case I will just comment this out because I am not using a different identity key. Now because in my conf file the port is specified, so I just again need to give ssh-y client. That's it. Everything will be taken care automatically by the config file. So minimize your typing. I can write here, it's a very important topic. Minimize your typing. So what can be done? Create config file for machine specific instructions. That is very important. So when you do all these things, you have created the keys, then you had uh, see, configured your SSH not to use password as the valid authentication mechanism, use only the keys. Then you have limited the scope of the keys also by specifying the from parameter. And then after then you want to minimize your typings, so you have created a conf file here. You can just write here, say host, and then small name, and under this you can write host name, say long name of server.com, then user, long username. Then you can specify the ports if the port are different, say 222, and you can also use the different identity keys, identity file, and then you can specify the path, some other SSH file.key, like this. So you can have it for every host, say host small 2, then other configuration, all the configuration will be same. So you just need to type SSH and the small name, and these configurations will automatically be picked. So you have minimized your typing. So that is all I intend to share with this. So I hope you have liked the video, and thank you very much for trusting us, and keep on loving, learning, and living Linux. Thank you. God bless. Take care. See you again soon. Bye. I'm stopping the video now.